everybody. Welcome. Thank you for your patience this morning. We wanted to give everyone a little time for the Avengers to assemble. So welcome to the VO Dojo's Ask the Sensei. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei here in Burbank, California. And this is our free monthly Q&A, Ask the Sensei. So I invite one of my esteemed voiceover colleagues to join me to answer your questions about what's going on in your voiceover world. What's a question that's on your mind that that would move you forward if you had the answer for it today? So we'll do our best. Joined here by 𝗨𝗃, who is our dojo team member facilitating this call. If you need anything, she's there. We would love to hear where you're joining us from. And I think, do we have the poll, 𝗨𝗃? Can we put up the poll to see, give us a sense of where you're at on your voiceover journey? It just helps us to know, how to gauge our questions or gauge our answers to your questions. So I'm going to have I'm going to introduce our guest. Hello, Doringer. Super excited to have our wonderful guest, George Washington III, join us today. We went to Northwestern together, although we didn't know each other there. We found out that we were fellow Wildcats afterwards. And George will tell you a little bit about himself. He's the current president of World Voices organization, so I'm excited for him to share about all of that. But George, why don't you, well, in 1 second, we'll have you introduce yourself, and then after everyone's done with the poll, we'll have you put your questions in the chat. That will be the question part, and then 𝗨𝗃 will call your voice into the room, so we'll get to talk and answer your questions together. So yeah, we're going to go to 11. If you need to leave at the top of the hour, that's great. We'll wrap up, and then if we have more questions, we'll go a little bit further for the extended dance mix a little bit. So that's all housekeeping. George, hi, welcome. Thank you for being here, and why don't you introduce yourself a little?
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. George Washington III. I'm a voice actor normally based out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area, currently in California for an MC/Voice of God gig. I've been a voice actor for 23 years. I'm the president of World Voices, been a board member for, I believe, 7 years. And I'm also a member of and a board member of Blue Wave Voiceover, which is a marketing collective for voice actors. And we do democratic, progressive, and liberal causes.
Yeah, fantastic. George and I did a great 21 questions. If you want to hear more about his background and his origin story, I think it's always good to hear everybody's origin stories, so you kind of remember where you are on your journey, as you are living yours or building on yours. So awesome. Okay. So let's see. All right. Do we get to see the poll, 𝗨𝗃? Can you share that with us? It's
Yes.
not official. And then yeah, what questions do we have in the room? I think we are to question time.
Can you see it, Tish? Can you see the poll?
Mm,
Maybe like that?
no, it is. There you go. Yeah.
Maybe if I press the button that says share, put it up on the screen.
Good. Yeah, start populating questions, because the really cool thing about question and answer time is questions. We need them to make this work. Good. So it seems like people are kind of in the middle of the journey, and this is good. Awesome. Cool. Um,
George, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you feel that your life, like outside of voiceover, supports your career? Like, how do you feel the way that your life is structured right now helps support the career that you've been like thriving in?
So I will tell you that the number one thing that makes my career possible right now is that I have a partner who supports me. There is really, it's hard to express how important that is, at least in my life, to have a partner who, one, believes in what I'm doing, is excited when things happen for me in that space. And I feel, absolutely comfortable saying, look at this cool thing that I'm working on. I'll share funny auditions, and things like that. And her being able to be the one who is handling the fact that we all go through booking ups and downs, the fact that she's got the job that says this is going to happen regardless of whether you're booking this month or not, that takes some pressure off. But it also it's really important to have that person who is not doubting you in that space, especially when in the beginning, because it is such a fraught space to be in at the beginning, because you don't book that often, and we've talked about this, and Tish and I have talked about it. When you're booking, when things are going well, you're booking 2 in 100. And when you're starting out, you don't have that many auditions in the first place. So it is very difficult to keep that kind of positivity going, and you need people around you who believe in you.
I often call that the Jack's mother, like in Jack and the Beanstalk, because you're like, hey, I'm going to start this new endeavor, and your partner might be like, I told you to sell the cow. What's with this magic beans? But you have to keep on waiting for it to grow, and then trust that it's not folly. So
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And there are times where people have to walk away temporarily, where you can't commit to it entirely. And people who are starting out or heading toward mid-career understand that is okay. That happens. As long as you don't give up entirely, there's still time.
Right. And that you might find a way that you like what you do, and you do a voiceover.
Yes.
That's totally valid. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I think we have questions.
Yes, Ray, come on up, my friend. Oh, we can't hear you.
Most important part of voiceover.
Have my
That's okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Thanks for being here, George. Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, my question was kind of, you were talking about it, but how do you maintain kind of your mindset, and then also like the daily structure of life through auditioning, and then the highs and lows of booking, and how do you kind of maintain your mindset?
So what I did, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm full-time now, but I wasn't full-time until 2020. So I did it for a long time before I became a full-time voice actor. And what I set myself up with was, yes, you've got to do this thing to keep the roof over your head and food in your mouth and your family's mouths. But any time that you can devote to improving what you're doing, whether that is practice, that is marketing, that is additional training, anytime you can devote to that, you should. And that is that's the thing that happens during the ups and downs of booking as well, because you're going to have months where it's like, yeah, that's looking pretty sketch, right? Or that's not great. And so what you do then is see who you haven't talked to recently and reach out. It's, let me go back and listen to some of these auditions I did and see where I could improve. I know that one of the difficulties for a lot of people is, do you have money to audition, to get additional coaching with? Because that's hard. But if you have it set aside in your budget, start looking for those things and getting additional coaching. There's nothing wrong with getting more coaching. Even, like I coach with Harry Dunn now, right? Because it's something that I need for the kind of work I want to do. And so from a mindset perspective, it is I use this, I talk to people, I'm a musically oriented person. I studied music at Northwestern, and, I just love music of all types. But one thing that I kept during the times when I was going up and down, when I wasn't a full-time artist, is I'd written down this quote from James Taylor. And it was, hold tight to your heart's desire. Never, ever let it go. Don't let nobody fool you into giving it up too soon. Tend your own fire, lay low and be strong. Wait a while, it'll come around. You have to find something that continues to inspire you, even when things aren't going great.
Yeah. And I also think that just having the mindset of understanding that you are starting a business, and starting a business takes, like, if you were starting any other business, you wouldn't be going like, oh man, this isn't working. I mean, you might, but you would be like, you wouldn't be like, I'm going to quit my job and just do this. You'd be like, oh, I still need to eat, and I'm starting a business. So I think sometimes, because the process to start this business is a combination of building our skills, creating our product, and then from the beginning, we need to remember that we're building our product because we're building our business, right? Because it's such an intimate, personal, and transformative experience doing this work as we become better, as we become deeper, stronger, better, truer voiceover artists. We know ourselves deeper, better, truer, stronger as well. So it's an art form, and it serves commerce, right? And eventually that commerce serves your art form. But I think it sometimes, as we're developing our product and in the thick of it, we forget that we're building a business, and building businesses takes time, takes energy, takes money. We need to do it while we're doing our other work. And that's just building business.
Yeah,
Just
that's how it works for
is
everybody.
so. Yeah.
Right?
So
You're an actor, right? And that's one of the things, is recognizing that you're entering into a space where you are putting yourself out there. You are exposing yourself and your soul to everybody else all the time. And that lack of feedback that we normally get, and that sense of personal rejection that we can sometimes take, weighs on you. But you have to remember, this is a business, and building a business takes time. And the things that everybody has to do, like 10 touches per contact in order to get even them to acknowledge that you're doing anything, still stands for us as it does for anybody else.
yeah, that's good. Good. Yeah, I think we have some other questions.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say that's why structures like the dojo are so great, because you're constantly working with coaches and you're surrounded by students and you are receiving that feedback. It's not just, screaming into the void kind of situation, you know. That's why I feel like it's so important to have that team behind you. Um, we have Princess Takara, come on up. And did I say your name right? Because it's lovely and I want to say it correctly. Oh, and you're muted.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Hey, a princess and a president.
Hi, George. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So my name is Princess 𝗨𝗃. Yeah. Thank you though for the compliments, Kelsey. You're so sweet. I love your on-air sign, by the way. That's totally awesome. Okay, so here's my question for George. You mentioned that you've been in this business for 23 years. Most of us are sourcing for work. What's your methodology?
So when I first started, obviously things were entirely different. I went to some local studios first. and started the work there, moved on to some other folks who at the time, so this is the thing, Source Connect wasn't even a thing, right, when we started. So it was, you'd go to a place that had ISDN and you'd build on those things and grow from there. But now that Source Connect is a thing, and now that everybody has a home studio, you still have to start with who's your local studios, who are the folks around here that do production, and find out who they are. Find out what the advertising agencies around you are, because starting locally can be easier. Meet people, talk to them, tell everyone this is what you do, because you don't know where that work's going to come from. I've been doing narrations for a series of documentaries about the Rosenwald schools, which were the schools back in during the Jim Crow era that were sponsored by the president of Sears Roebuck, local governments and local people for Black students. And the reason I got the job was because I sang at a funeral. Right. I had sung at a funeral of my first agent in Charlotte, her funeral for her husband. And they had people who were that said, hey, we'd heard about you, and now that we've heard you actually perform and that sort of thing, we'd like to talk to you about this thing, right, about these jobs. So yeah, but those are kind of one-offs, right? Those things kind of happen out of randomly. You have to decide what kind of work you want to do, find out who hires for that work, and reach out to them. And that's kind of the very core basic thing, whether that is you are using LinkedIn or you are using other tools. Find out who produces the work you want to do and contact them. Figure out what it is that what you can share about yourself. And again, not always what your voice is about. Talk about what you are. One of the reasons I talk about the photography that I'm doing and the fact that I sang opera is because people remember that stuff over their remembering that I'm a voice actor.
Right. Can you share the story about doing the work for the Smithsonian, coming out of how that work came?
Yeah. So I was the app voice, one of the app voices for the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And the reason I got the job was a friend of mine, Rosie Amador. She and her husband, Brian Amador, were already doing the Spanish voiceovers. And the person asked them, do you know an African American male who can do this? And Rosie, who I met through going to FAFCON, said, I do. And they connected with me, and I got to do some of the most meaningful work I've ever done. And again, it wasn't the most lucrative thing, but it was so meaningful to be a part of that story, knowing that a president heard my voice doing that work. And that is contact. That is meeting people in smaller spaces, so that it isn't always it isn't a whirl of 1,000 people. And again, this is not me talking down any large events, but you got to be able to have conversations and continue those conversations after you get done with the thing, and extending those friendships, because I've known Rosie now for 13 years. That came from one 2-day event.
Right.
That it is, connections, knowing people, being kind, being helpful, and people will come back to you.
Yes. And it might be, can you just speak a little tiny bit, George, about what WOVO is and what your vision for it? Because it really segues from what you just said.
Yeah. So World Voices is an organization of voice actors that is dedicated to peer-to-peer learning, accountability, and support. And so it comes from kind of the beginnings of what FAFCON was, which was a small group of voice actors no more than 100 or so, maybe 120, having a weekend where they share information. We set up little classes and everybody does those things, but a lot of the value comes from the conversation that happens between and at dinner and at lunch and those things. And my vision for 𝗏𝗏 has been to build it in such a way that we do that kind of communication between working voice actors and upcoming voice actors year round. And so we are building programs and situations where people can converse and share information and get to know each other and still have our own conference, 𝗏𝗏Con, built on the same structures as 𝗏𝗏Con was.
Yeah, yeah. And that whole idea of building your business by relationshiping. Sometimes people use the word networking. At the dojo, we talk about relationshiping because it's so much better, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
I get to know you and you get to know me, and then we know each other and we have a relationship. Oh, and you happen to be a producer. Awesome, because we work together, so we have a relationship. Oh, we're colleagues, so we have a relationship. So that's how you build your business.
Yes, and this is not to say that I don't have a lot of representation. I do, right? You know, I'm with Atlas Talent. I'm with a bunch of regionals, and so those are awfully important. It's remember that your jobs are going to come from what's being kind of a like a three-legged stool. You're going to have representation. You're going to have your direct stuff, and some people are going to use online casting or whatever that third leg is going to be. But you need to invest in at least two of them so that you are doing, so that you have those things happening.
And your relationship with your agents, with your representation, that's relationshiping too, because that you have to build that, you have to create that to meet them, to get to have them join your team. And notice how I say that, to have them join your team, not like get represented. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all relationshiping. Yeah, it's good. Good. What other questions do we have?
Thank you so much. Evan, come on up, friend.
Hi, George. Love your name, but
Thank you.
what is the most important thing to keep in mind when you are first making a demo?
Okay. The most important thing, at least in my mind, is remember that this is just one of them, right? This is a snapshot in time. This is where your skills are at this moment, right? So you need to, take into account, think about the training that you've had, think about all of the things that you've learned to that point, and remember that a lot of this is just about being emotional out loud. What we do is not information transfer, it's emotional transfer. And if you can keep that idea in mind, that you are not just reading about paint, you're reading or you're performing about the joy of creation.
Right? Yeah.
So you need to make sure that emotional transfer is what's on your mind when you're going into that first read, into that first demos. You do those things, you do the best you can, be open to direction. I cannot stress it enough. Be open to direction, because if you go in with one read in your mind and you can't change it, you're stuck. Be to the direction you are given, make the changes, and then let it go. Because once it's done, like in everything else we do with auditions and jobs, once it's in the can, it's in the can. Let somebody tell you what it's about, and hopefully you have a good enough relationship with your demo producer that if something needs to be fixed, it can be fixed.
Yeah, and from our perspective here at the dojo, one of the first things that we talk about, like here's a good barometer. Are you able to pick up any piece of copy in the genre that you're making your demo and nail it within 1 or 2 takes by yourself without any direction? When you get to a place you're like, yeah, I pretty much can. I can do high energy, I can do more intimate, I can do a range. And then, so that's one thing. That's like, when are you ready to do it? And sometimes that's a little tussle in yourself, like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, because that's crossing any threshold. Is you're a little like, oh, I don't know, but for the most part, right? And obviously when you're, as you're doing stuff, ideally you have people that you're working with that will be able to you'll be able to confer on that. I think you're ready. Do you think you're ready? I think you're ready, yes. Sometimes you're like, I'm ready, and the person you're conferring with will like, maybe not. Which is why we could have people to confer with. The other thing is knowing yourself. Remember we were talking about building a business. You are your product. So you need to know what you're bringing to this party. What is it that you are about that is going to have that emotional transfer, George? Because if making your demo is the one time when you have all control of all the paints. You're making this. So how do you make it something that resonates with you, that you relate to, and that is a reflection of all the sides of you? And how does it serve the business, right? How does it serve the market? What are you going to be bringing to market? So to know where where your voice can serve, and make sure that the things you're putting on the demo makes it super clear for anyone who needs that, is like, oh, well, he can do that and that. Oh, and I'll bet you because he can do that and that, he can probably do something in the middle there. Just to show the range. I like to think of it like, like when your diamond sparkles in the sunshine, like what are all the facets of you that make things sparkle? Because those are different cuts in you. We just did our demo listen derby last month, that we should have the recording of, or a recording of, available on the website with our demo producers. And that's just a great couple of hours of what does a demo need to be? Let's listen to demos and see what we're doing. So yeah, where you're about to make your demo, Evan, you're in process, right?
I'm not about to make my demo. I'm actually smack dab in the middle of getting my house ready to put on the market.
Oh, okay. So not yet. Yeah, you're getting your life. You're getting your life.
Otherwise, I would be doing the course right now.
Yeah. No, you're good shape. So what you're doing is laying the foundation so you can build your business, and you're here and you're exploring what you can on the way. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. Excellent question.
Amazing. Okay. Joe can't speak because he's smart and watching this at his day job. So he's getting paid to watch this. Take note, everybody. Joe says, I find as I get older, my speaking voice feels raspy and old sounding, and I'm afraid of sounding like Frank Pintagelli from The Godfather. Wow. Hi, dyslexia. What do you do to keep your voice sounding great?
So, this is one thing. These things are happening because we age. There's nothing we can do about some of that, right? We're losing a little bit of, we're losing some flexibility. It's one of the reasons, like as I started my life as a baritone who could do a little tenor stuff, and that's not a thing anymore. Right? Those things that's just truth about how those things happen. But I think the main thing is, one, keep a warm-up process. Keep a warm-up process that keeps you, every time you're going in, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I go. And making sure that those things are happening. Continuing to work on breath control, because some of that is a loss of volume coming through your vocal cords. So you just need to continue to work on breath control, having a solid warm-up process, and continuing to push the top of the range a little bit so that it's still there. Some of it, though, is acknowledging that it changes, right? I don't have the same voice now at 57 that I had at 40. And so I look at roles differently. Like, yeah, that's not for me. I don't sound like a 20-year-old anymore. I can't sound like a 20-year-old. So some of them I say that's not for me anymore, and adjust what genres you work in based on that.
And then also totally embrace that you're the old guy.
This is who you are now.
So I think, our voices, one of the first things that we talk about in the foundations of the You Should Do Voiceover Launchpad and Workout, our foundational course, we talk about external equipment, meaning your recording equipment, etc., super important. And from the very first days, your internal equipment, really understanding that our voice is our instrument and our instrument is how we do our business. So from the very, very beginning, understanding how essential that is to know your voice at whatever age, know how to take care of it, and know how to keep it flexible and able to do all the things that we ask it to do in whatever form that is. If that is being able to be a vocal marathon runner for an audiobook, if that is being able to do, being able to be an extreme voice person doing creature sounds and voice video games, and just even being able to find all the nuances of our voice in doing commercial work. Like this is our instrument, we need to know it and take care of it. So just in the same way that as we get older, we may not be able to parkour as well as we did when we were 8, right? We have to keep our flexibility. We have to keep ourselves in motion. We have to conscientiously do what we can to keep our bodies going. We have to do the same with our voices. I think it also behooves everyone who's in the voiceover industry to have a voice team. So if you're having issues, that it might just be aging stuff, it might be something else. One of our senseis on our team, Sensei Shannon, lost her voice completely for 4 years because she had vocal dystonia, and it was started with acid reflux, and then also she was consistently working long and hard on her voice in a range that was damaging her voice. So she didn't work for 4 years. She's back now. And now she knows, and she's very careful about how much she does, how she does it and where it is. So knowing your voice is really, really important. And then getting, it might be like we can refer you to our vocal sensei, Faith Rumor, who's fantastic because she's a singer-songwriter, a singing coach, a voice coach. She has a speech pathology background. She's an acting coach, so she's really well-rounded. And when you start with our program, everyone does a vocal assessment with Faith. So you get a baseline. So it might be worthwhile just talking to someone either like Faith, who's a vocal coach, or going to a speech pathologist, and everyone should have a relationship with an ENT preemptively, because especially during allergy season, but something's going to come up where you need to have more support for your voice than you have ever needed before, and it's hard to get into an ENT when you need it. So it's a little like having an umbrella before it rains, but yeah, and then what George said, man, getting older, our bodies change, our voices change, and so we change with it, and don't and then embrace you're going to be the most awesome old guy, right? Because we're the old guys. So yeah, great question, great question, and really important for all of us. So yeah, good. What other questions do you have?
Tish, if you like, we can do announcements and a picture and then move on to the questions.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm so excited to share it with you guys. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of good stuff coming up. We have our Get to Know VO from 9 to 5 to VO Thrive. That's with full-time creative and business coach, Rachel Warren Allen. It's completely free. It's basically a class with us where she's going to teach you how to break out of your golden handcuffs and come on over to the dark side of the VO world. She's basically going to have a whole like setup and class. It's going to be fun. Completely free. Again, come join us. We want to help you guys get to where you want to go.
Yeah, just the one of the many amazing things about Rachel is that she came from a full-time corporate job. She's an artist and she had a full-time corporate job, and she made the transition to full-time voiceover. So that's what she's going to talk about, what's involved, what her journey was, what's involved, how to be thinking about that. So.
And then also coming up, we have our fight clubs. If you've never done fight club, it's really cool because it's not like any other voiceover class I've ever done. We have a decision maker come in and they basically bring you through an audition round. They do a callback. And the best part is they tell you why or why not you would not be picked, which is so essential because I've been to a lot of classes where you pay $300 and then they're like, that was great. And then you're like, whoa, 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 what do you mean? That was great. Hold on. How many Benjamins was that? Oh my God. And so I really enjoy it because it's real, it's honest, it's authentic. We have anime with Crunchyroll's Sean Gann coming up. He's done so many things over at Crunchyroll. He's also a big Shakespearean head, if you did not know that. We also have live action with award-winning casting director Andy Roth. An easier question would be, who hasn't he worked with? What hasn't he worked on when it comes to the commercial and live action world? He's fantastic. Some of his best advice he ever gave me, golden nugget sneak peek, was fuck up like a professional. So I keep that whenever I want to apologize for anything. And then we have voice matching with Disney's Renee Johnson. Again, she pretty much, if it has anything to do with Disney and voices, she's the person behind it. So she did Kingdom Hearts, Disney Speedstorm. She's done so many things, and she's a very special guest. She only comes once a year, and she pretty much doesn't teach anywhere else. We have a really great relationship with her. But it's so special. It's such a great class. I recommend it for everyone. And then you can also spectate for $49, super cheap. So if you just want to stop by and ask a question live like this, get in front of the decision makers, you can do that. We also have our You Should Do Voiceover Launchpad plus workouts coming up in June. So if you are like, I don't know, I don't really know where I'm going or where I want to go, or I do know where I want to go, but I know there's more. This class offers like a comprehensive overview of kind of like everything that's available to you as a voiceover artist. And there's also live coaching. You do it in a community. It breaks down a lot of walls. It's really great. And then we have You Should Do audiobooks coming up with Ronnie Butler, who's an incredible audiobook narrator. He's narrated over 400 audiobooks. He's award-winning. And again, he just gets down to the nitty-gritty of like, okay, how do you make this the thing you do? And like, you know, I really appreciate the vulnerability and the realness of it all, and figuring out like, is this really for me? And if not, where can we get you? So that's where, if you feel like you don't know where you're going, or, you know, you're kind of lost, we can schedule you a call with Tish, and she can kind of help you figure out where you're going. So
cool. So always so much happening at the dojo.
Yeah, sorry, that was a lot, but thanks for sticking around. And
yeah, good. Basically, the gist of it is we're here for you at whatever level that you work, and how to get where you take it where you from where you are to where you want to be. And George, how can people stay in touch with you? How do people get connected with Wovo?
So my My website is 𝗏𝗏evolution.com. And my email is george@𝗏𝗏evolution.com. I'm on social media. I'm one of the very few George Washington III's in the world, but they're out there, and the links are there and everything. And Wovo is world-voices.org, and you can see on the website the things we're doing. And I'm working hard to move us in a new direction. And you see we have our website there, and our Instagram, and our relatively new TikTok, where we're putting information out there and telling people what we're doing. And we're invite people to come check us out and see what we're about. We're about $100 a year for people to get together and share information among themselves, learn from each other, and figure out where they want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a conference coming up in October in New Orleans, right?
That is correct. WovoCon is the VoiceOver Unconference, the only conference in our industry right now done in that manner, where we don't know what we're presenting until we get there. We decide among us what's going to be presented. And it is in New Orleans, October 17th through the 19th. And it's for members only. So you join and you have an opportunity to do the thing that we're talking about online in person with people who are open to the process of sharing and communicating and having relationships rather than just communication.
Yeah. Cool, 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 cool. And that's the public announcements. Thank you. We're here for you, the gist of it, that we are here for you. Yeah. Oh, and let's do a quick picture. If everyone wants to come off of get your beautiful faces. Hi, Memo, beautiful face. Speaking of beautiful faces. Okay, bring everybody.
You mean the most handsome man in voiceover is here? There he is.
It's true. All right. Okay. Ready, steady, and captured. Yay. Good, good, good. Okay. Well, awesome. Good, good, good. All right. What other questions do we have, my dear?
Hold on. I don't think I got everybody. Give me just a moment.
Oh, okay.
Come on, camera. Some people came on like at the last minute, so I want to make sure you get y'all too. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Wovo.
All right.
Awesome.
That was
Thank
a good
you.
one, Camille. I saw Camille.
Yeah, it was, right? All right, we do have more questions, so we'll roll right into it. Where my 3,000 tabs? Okay, here we go. Michael Kennedy.
Hey, Michael. You have a question?
Oh, yeah. Basically, I didn't hang out today. George, how often do you attend like chamber of commerce meetings or any kind of social club meetings, if at all? And if you have, how beneficial have those been to you?
So I have done those on rare occasion, but they are beneficial in that you get other people to know what you're doing. However, when you go to those kinds of things, many times you're going to run into a lot of people who, one, have no idea what you do, and two, don't have anything in mind right away. So if you're going to go to those things, know that this is planting the seed. This is just the start. And they may not have anything, but they may know somebody in another department who does. And so once you go to those things, know that there's not going to be suddenly, boom, here's this flood of, wow, all this great work's going to come in. But if they say, you know what, I met somebody at this chamber meeting or at this particular organization who does this, maybe you want to reach out to them. So there is not a bad reason. There's nothing bad about going to chamber meetings or other local business meetings. Just know, one, you're going to run into a lot of real estate people, a lot of them, right? Right. And a lot of financial planners, a lot of them. And that is not to say that they don't provide valuable sources, but valuable resources for people. But know that you're going to have to do some weeding through the people you meet to figure out what value add you can provide for folks. I would strongly recommend going to those kinds of meetups. Get to know some folks. Again, all of these things take multiple touches for something to come from them. But if you get to know a couple of people who work at a large, corporation, maybe you end up doing their e-learning, maybe you end up doing their phone system, maybe you end up doing their commercials because they know somebody.
I was just at Northwestern has a alumni event that like happens in multiple cities on the same day. So earlier this year, I was at one, talked to a woman that I never met before. She happens to work at 𝗨𝗏𝗺𝗺 and happens to be the person who makes their like what is it called when you're like pretend to be a patient?
A simulation.
Yeah, the patient simulations. So she is in charge of doing all of that. And she said, "Oh my God, I have my team doing all the voiceover. It takes them like 9 hours." And I was like, "Girl, call me." And I know people like so those sort of things. You don't know where the connections are going to come. So that goes back to just the heartbeat of relationshiping and saying, "I'm a voiceover artist." How can
have a story. Have a story to tell that isn't just your voiceover story. And that gets people to go, okay, that's cool. And they do this too. Wow, that's awesome. Now you have a thing that sticks in their memory and you have a skill set that they might value.
Yeah. Michael was just at our nth degree career catapult, which is our working pro intensive that we do a couple times a year. And Michael, instead of going to a rando, or in addition to, right? In addition, well, okay, and we won't say judgment because rando people like could be the people that become your repeat clients for the next 30 years, right? We don't know. They're just people you don't know. But cold leads, like, right, if you walk into a Chamber of Commerce meeting, that's a bunch of cold leads and may not be, it may not be the exact context, like, oh, I wasn't looking for a voiceover artist, right? But it's a great place to develop. You come from a background where you do know people in the corporate world. So you just, how do you take those people and reintroduce yourself as, by the way, I do this, how can I, and I know how everything works here, so I'd be a great person to do it. So
yeah, that is part of your story, right? Hey, I know what you guys do. That, doing like I worked for First Union in Wachovia and Wells Fargo. And so I can always tell the story is I've done IT for financial services companies. So your terminology is not going to be strange to me. I know what you're talking about. So that is part of your story and you're offering in the skill set that they would value.
And then my brain also goes, because my brain always goes like, how do we put things together? Goes back to George saying, what do you want to do? And then where do those people meet? Right? Like, so if you want to do voiceover work in healthcare, where do healthcare marketing people work? Like, where do they gather? When do you beat them poolside, right? How do you go to those people? If you're doing promo, go to Promax, where the people who are doing those things go. Yeah, good, excellent question. Yeah. What else, Kels?
Yeah, George, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel that this is kind of a personal question, but how do you feel that having a kid like changed your perspective on voiceover and the way that you kind of navigate the world?
So one of the things I talk about that is having your children be a part of your, not one, your story, two, your experience and how you relate to the copy. Because, for instance, I recall a job where they had me read about where the copy was all about, what do you want for the future for your children? and I was going through a turbulent time. I'm looking at, the images of my children, thinking about what I want for them for the future, and just let that emotion pour into the read. This is what I want for them. I would like this stability. I would like this kind of future where they can do what they want, that they find a thing they love, and they pursue that. And imagining that part of what I'm doing by trying to be a voice actor is modeling for them the kind of thing they want. And we got to the end of the read, and there are tears running down my face, and they're like, that is the greatest, that is amazing. I'm like, you're gonna have to give me a minute, because I'm not gonna, I gotta recover from that business. But your children, if you have children, are such an integral part of your life that they can help be some of the emotional spark that kicks you into a more connected read, because the things you may be discussing are things that maybe not in that particular copy says your child does this, but it can have an effect on them down the road. And so you think through, how does that affect me and mine?
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the abstract instead of the concrete, how is that affecting me and mine and people like me who have children, who are concerned for their future or want the best for them? And that changes that perspective. Now, on the more direct issue, telling your kids, hey, I need you to be quiet while I do this read, right? You're gonna have to turn off the air conditioning while I'm doing this. You're gonna have to turn off Netflix while I record this over source connect. That takes all the romance out of it. But I think in my instance, being able to model for them that this is something that I was pursuing and didn't give up on it and kept going for it, both informed their decision-making and gave me some inspiration that they saw what I was doing and thought it was good.
I totally agree with that. My older son is just graduating from UCSB this year. He was literally in the booth with me at 2 weeks. I think having kids requires that you're even more efficient with your business. That you have to figure out, when are you going to do this? Karen Gilfrey was just at the Career Catapult. She said, her business completely shifted when her daughter was born, because she only had this amount of time to do everything she needed to. So she created a efficient workflow. And then, I think a lot of what George just said, a lot of what makes us deeper, truer voiceover artists is when we don't make it about us. And when you have kids, it's beyond, everything you do has to have something that's beyond you inherently. So what are you doing this for? And then my high school graduate this year, he's getting a demo for his graduation present, so he can pay his own damn tuition. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Good. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. What other questions do we have? Oh, actually, we're right at the top of the hour. So, so if you need to roll, like if you were committed to just being here till 11, thank you so much for being here. We do this the first the first Wednesday of every month. Next month, 𝗵𝗵𝗺𝗏 from QueerVox is going to be joining us. So we're super excited to have them. Yeah. So if you need to roll, this is recorded, so you can catch the replay and catch the rest of the questions. And if you can hang out, we'll answer a few more questions for a few more minutes. Yeah. What other questions do we have, Kels?
Okay, so we have Thomas Flowers, if you can come up and ask your question.
All right. Okay. Well, first of all, thanks so much for taking my last minute question. My question is, where do my Voice of God clips go on my demo? I've got a commercial demo, but it doesn't quite fit there. The website, you've got your various clips you can click on, but it's very much very much a part of what I do, various curtain calls for theater groups and everything. So where exactly does that go? Because that is what I do.
In a separate demo.
Mm-hmm.
That is straight, it is a different thing, because the people who are going to be looking for you commercially casting are almost never going to be looking for you for Voice of God stuff.
Exactly. So I didn't feel like it would fit right there. And then I'm like, okay, do I do?
To go in that. So just put your clips together of your Voice of God work, and that is a separate thing. It might even be a separate page on your website. Here's a thing I do. Right.
Exactly. Right.
And that, because that's why I'm here right now. Right. So yeah, it's just have it as a separate thing, because, and for folks who don't do this, it can be, it's not, unless you're doing the Emmys, the Tonys, that sort of thing, it's not going to be super, super lucrative, but it can be.
I don't know. You just got
a little bit of money. Yeah, I'm getting kind of a partial vacation out of it because they want me to come and do it on stage too. But it can be, here's a few $100 of for a job that'll take you 10 or 15 minutes, right? That is so, looking and listening to what Voice of God stuff does, and how that's done, and on top of it, the people who need that kind of work. Of course, you're going to be looking all around for that, but who needs that? It is companies that create events for corporations.
Exactly. I've done various conferences, and and they'll have their conventions, and then they'll have the awards programming and everything that they have part of that, and they just want to have that voice coming from the rafters.
That's right.
Here's the question about what demo does anything go on. Our demos are our way to bring our product to market. So our demo is your Voice of God demo is going to serve a particular purpose and serve a particular market. So we think about, what if I'm a buyer, if I'm someone who needs a voice of God, who am I and what do I want to hear? What will show me that Thomas could do this event or this event or this event, that he has a track record, that he, so how do I find what I need? And that goes the same if it's Voice of God, if it's commercial, if it's video game, if it's, whatever it is, if it's audiobook. How am I going to present my work so the people who are interested in buying my work and working with me, right? How can I serve them most impactfully? So now, if there is something on your demo, or you do have a voice that serves, you could work with your commercial demo producer and put something that just has a flavor or a hint that is something that you could do, right? Like one of our dojo members, Jason 𝗏𝗃, on his original demo, which kind of he still uses because it's such a freaking good demo. He had a piece that had just a little bit of energy that you can tell he would rock promo, right? It wasn't a promo, but you could tell that it is. So there might be something in a commercial, maybe even something humorous, that you could get a little tinge of Voice of God that someone would go, oh, I bet you he would be a great MC. I bet you he would be a great announcer. So you can do little hints of that, right? That's a way that you like, just put it as a little tiny flower in your bouquet of your commercial. That's another way to look at it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much. Till
My
then.
pleasure.
What are the questions? We've got time for a few more?
Yes, we have 2 more questions. Terry, come on up if you can.
On my phone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Terry.
Hey, yo. Hey, GW3.
Hey. How you doing, Terry?
Not as good as you, brother. Not as good as you. So my question is this. I was wondering, what are your feelings on taking actually booked work and creating a demo from them?
So I always feel as though if you're going to use booked work, then you're going to be doing it to update an existing demo, but building a full demo from your booked work. Part of the problem with that is you are the person trying to make distinctions about what your range is.
Oh, no. What I mean is taking spots and sending them to a demo producer. They can chop and cut it, not me.
Okay, so I'm kind of a mixed feelings about it. I think, one, it is always better to have stuff that is written for you, that you can go to and say, this is where you find feeling, because you've worked with a producer who said, here's the stuff that I like. They've said, what of these things do you like? I like these things. I feel strongly about these things, because those are most likely to get the best performances out of you. However, there can be some value in using that, those existing pieces, because they are true demonstrations. Now, for instance, if you're going to do it for the Europe, because they prefer that, that's a good thing, right? Because if you're going to, in the UK, they want you to be finished pieces and not stuff that comes from, work from non-existent things. But in general, I would suggest have stuff written for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
And I would say, like, there's part of me that agrees with that. And then it also, if there was something that you booked and it was your voice was chosen and you might be known for that, then hell yeah, have that on there. Make sure that it stays, that it stays current, right? Because sometimes that's another thing. Like, if you're doing the, 2020 something, you need to say it's current. And then sometimes, a couple layers of thought here. Sometimes the stuff we book is not, I think this ties into what George was saying. Sometimes the stuff we book isn't the best showcase of that facet of ourselves. Like we do it all the time, but this piece like really just explains it all about me. So and then at the Career Catapult, one of the things that the agents and managers were talking about was we want your demo to also be, what do you want to be doing? So that's another interesting, like, show me what you want to be doing, or that, that you can do that. I would say, obviously, make sure anything you're putting on your demo is not NDA or anything that's not supposed to be there. But I do think that there is something to it, as long as it keeps the portrait of you. Like, don't just put something on there because it's new and you did it in real life, because we're also thinking about the journey of your demo and how does that experience of taking in your whole demo to show the 360 of you go in. So sometimes it might work, and sometimes you could build around it, Yeah, I think it's intriguing. Make sure the stuff you have is super highest quality of what you've got out that you want to be putting out there, right? Because sometimes we book jobs and it wouldn't be what you'd put on the front of the album cover, right? Sometimes just because it's booked doesn't mean it wouldn't be on your album cover. So yeah, good question and good thing to think about. I don't think there's any one answer. I think you can find your way on it.
Thank you for your perspective too.
Yeah. What else? You said 2 more questions.
All right, and last question from Camille. Come on up, Camille.
Hey, darling, how are you?
Hi, love. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I think you answered a lot of my questions in the last answers. I didn't know the thing about Europe, so that's very good to know. But what my question was about demos, and should we be focusing on what we love, which I know we should be focusing on, or what we're good at when we're looking to do our first demo? Once upon a time, I did tap dancing and jazz dancing. I was really passionate about the jazz dancing, but I was more proficient at the tap dancing. Thus, I got better rewards doing the tap. But so when I'm looking at doing my first demo, do I lean towards love or proficiency?
So my suggestion is this: do the thing that is proficiency so that you can build on the thing you love. Because if you know you can get work and you're proven at getting work at something, then create something that will get you the work that will fund the love thing.
Yeah.
Because, if you're putting out only the love thing and it is more sparse, like doing a promo demo first would be disastrous for 99% of people, because the work is sparse. It's concentrated in a very, in a very closed area. And even if you love it, it takes a ton to climb that wall and get into it. Everybody needs a commercial demo, right? Everybody needs to be able to book that thing that there is more of, and I would suggest that everybody needs two, right? You need to have one that's your commercial demo and one that is your narration, your generic narration demo that can apply to business narration or maybe television narration to a certain extent, or non-broadcast stuff, because those are the bread and butter. That's the bread and butter work that is more likely to book, more likely to generate some kind of income first, so that then you say, now I'm going to go do my promo with training first, or whatever it is that is the passion project.
Right. I was actually leaning a little towards IVR, because well, people mistake me for an answering machine a lot of the times anyways. And I understand that I can even do some samples as far as IVR. I don't even necessarily have to lend into demos yet, but it's a proficiency I have before I get into commercials or animation or the things that I like.
I think, oh, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and IVR can be IVR/marketing on hold. All those things can be a kind of a low-level constant, right? Because the work it isn't going to pay big, but if you got a number of clients and you're working with particular companies, it's just going to keep coming, right? And so it's not a bad thing that kind of kicks off okay, I do this well. I have I create a work base, and now I can grow from there.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I think IVR is a little bit like we were talking with Thomas. It's a really specific niche that people who are looking for IVR and who you would be sending this to for the people who might need IVR, that you can do that as a thing, start generating the money. And you wouldn't put an IVR unless it was like something that showed your sense of humor in a commercial spot, but you wouldn't put an IVR spot in your commercial demo. Yeah, and then I think I agree with everything that George said. I know like Ronnie Butler is our audiobook sensei, and he talks about how he started, he came in because he got into audiobooks, really rocking that he's from the Caribbean. So he's an African American man and had a Caribbean background. So that was kind of his niche thing. And then he started doing, these kind of books. And then as he got known as a reliable and dependable narrator, then he said, oh, I also do young adult things. I also do kids stuff. And then you build. But the first thing that people are going to buy, it's a great thing to put out, right? Unless you hate it, like don't do audiobooks if you hate audiobooks. But really don't do audiobooks if you hate audiobooks.
Definitely.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Any other last minute questions?
No, just George, is there anything you want to promote that you got going on, or?
I would say, please check out World Voices. Again, we're changing our direction towards more of a peer-to-peer learning, accountability, and support organization. We're trying to build on that kind of connection and communication that I think we're aligned with how the dojo works and the kind of things that you're doing. And I want to build on that and have people create the kind of relationships that can develop into not just I get work from folks, but friendships and long-term relationships among voice actors, and that kind of sharing of information that is the rising tide that lifts all boats.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what we're here for, y'all, as well. So it's so good to see so many of you back and so many of you here for the first time. Please do get on my calendar so we can talk and more about what's going on and how things are going and how we might be able to help. And we'll see you next month. Really great to have you here. And let other people know about this and the dojo as well. So thanks, Kelsey. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and yeah, let us know what you got out of this. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.